Imagine waking up inside a game, but as a slave. That's exactly what happens to our protagonist, a poor soul who suddenly possesses the body of a lowly servant in a noble family. Worse, he realizes he's just an extra, destined to die at the hands of future villains. But instead of accepting fate, he makes a bold choice. He'll reform those villains before they ever turn evil. From sponsoring their education to guiding them through hardship, he raises each one into a capable, kind-hearted person. But fate loves irony, because while saving them, he unknowingly becomes the greatest mastermind in the entire kingdom. 10 years later, the peaceful world has changed completely. The once thriving Federation Kingdom in the east now faces an unimaginable disaster. Dark figures emerge, the legendary 5 great sins, each wielding terrifying power. Their arrival marks the beginning of destruction. As light and darkness clash across the land, the balance of the world shatters and a new age of chaos begins. The once mighty Eastern Kingdom now collapses into dust. Everything will fall. To stop this fate, one man begins a plan that could change history. He becomes the patron of the 5 great sins, guiding their destiny from the shadows. Yet, he quietly admits to himself he never expected things to grow this serious. Books fill the quiet room, pages fluttering under the golden light. He recalls his past life, a corporate slave trapped in endless 78-hour workweeks. Now, he's reincarnated as a noble in a fantasy world, surrounded by wealth and knowledge. He picks up a book, confused by the strange symbols. His butler points out it's upside down. In this new world, he realizes he can't read, and he has no powers at all. A servant calls out, "Young master, your meal is ready." Breaking his train of thought, the dining hall is filled with a mountain of luxurious dishes, a feast fit for royalty. He takes a bite and nods in satisfaction. That was good, he thinks, as a maid offers to prepare his bath. Soon after, he finds himself relaxing in a grand bath surrounded by attendants, completely stunned. Despite the shock, he can't help but smile. Being a young master in a noble's house isn't bad at all. As he sinks deeper into comfort, he laughs to himself. This is the life, though I still have no idea where I am. As he relaxes, the maid reminds him that the young masters will return tomorrow and he should sleep early. Confused, he asks who they are. The maid smiles, mentioning young masters Leo and Antonio. She laughs, wondering why he's acting like he doesn't know his own family. Hearing the name Palacio, he freezes. The name sounds eerily familiar. Realization hits, and he collapses into the tub in shock as the maids panic around him. Underwater, panic fills his eyes as a sudden realization strikes him. He remembers the name Psychedelia, the same world from his favorite game. Memories flash, the turn-based RPG he used to play endlessly late at night. Now, he's living inside it, the same characters, the same story, but this time, he's part of it. He remembers how he used to play Psychedelia whenever he had free time. No matter which route he took, the game always changed once the 5 great sins appeared: wrath, greed, sloth, obsession, and pride. Whenever they surfaced, kingdoms and noble houses would fall into ruin. Among them was the infamous Palacio family. The eldest son, Leo Palacio, was called the king of prostitutes, while the second son, Antonio Palacio, was known as the king of drugs. Realizing he has possessed a body belonging to that cursed family, his legs weaken as dread takes over. A memory flashes in his mind, the game's first sub-quest: investigate the Palacio house. It was infamous for its dark crimes and secret organization, Avalon. Realizing where he's trapped, he mutters in disbelief. "Are you kidding me right now?" He remembers clearly the Palacio family is the first to be destroyed by the 5 great sins. Now he's doomed as Alan Palacio, the third son, just an extra villain in the story. Lying in bed, he sighs hopelessly, wishing he could go back to his exhausting yet peaceful life as a 78-hour-a-week office worker. He sighs deeply, realizing that even in this luxurious life, he's destined to die within 10 years. Frustration fills him. He possessed a fantasy character, yet gained no powers or blessings. But suddenly, he freezes, knowing the future is a power itself. If he already knows what will happen in 10 years, then that's the same as being a prophet. Determined, he clenches his fist. If that's the case, He'll change everything and stop this world's downfall himself. Determined to survive, he decides to reform the 5 great sins to secure his peaceful, noble life. He wonders if it's even possible after all. They're still just kids at this point. 2 months later, his plan begins. He rescues orphans from the Eastern Human Testing Center, disguised as an orphanage. The operation is managed by a kind girl named Uxia, under the supervision of his loyal knight, Evan. Despite having no powers, his small actions slowly begin to change the fate of this world. Evan calmly observes him and remarks, "My eyes are precise, you're quite skilled." Alan blinks, unsure if it was a compliment or sarcasm, replying awkwardly, "Right? Yes, of course." Trying to stay polite, he forces a smile and says, "Evan, I look forward to working with you." Inwardly, he sighs. Evan used to be much easier to read before, but now he's completely unreadable. Staring into the mirror, Alan touches his face and mutters, "It feels like my possession only reached the surface, not the soul." Evan stretches his arm with a faint smile. "Thank you for the praise, young master." Alan nods, recalling why he hired him the moment they met. Evan, a rare character in psychedelia, is known for his loyalty, a man who remains honest even when surrounded by betrayal. Alan confirms, "Yes, this was all to save the girl named Uxia." Evan's eyes darken as he remembers. "Even as a seasoned mercenary, I could tell she was no ordinary child." Chains rattle in his memory, the image of a young girl with silver hair, trapped and trembling in the shadows of a prison cell. Evan recalls the girl's strength. She was powerful enough to resist, yet for some reason, she accepted her imprisonment. Alan asks, "Why didn't you bring her here?" "There's no reason to keep her locked up." Evan hesitates, and Alan calmly replies, "You're right, but leaving her there is part of my plan." He knows it might seem like neglect, but he has a bigger purpose, something only he understands. The girl's name is Uxia, a non-human who once signed a contract with an otherworldly being, gaining terrifying powers in exchange. Uxia, the girl once trapped, is destined to become Wrath, one of the 5 great sins who would one day slaughter hundreds of thousands. Alan leans back, thinking, but if she grows up in peace, maybe she won't become Wrath at all. He smirks to himself. "I finally took care of one landmine," he mutters, trying to sound confident. Evan looks confused, while Alan waves it off awkwardly. Well, I'll just make up an excuse." But his eyes darken with resolve. It's not yet time to act. For now, he'll wait and prepare for what's coming. Evan hesitates, realizing Alan isn't ready to take action yet. "It's not yet time?" he asks quietly. Alan nods firmly. "Yes, make sure no one talks about this. Also, support them with enough funds." He hands Evan a sealed envelope. "And give this to Uxia." Evan takes the letter carefully. "A letter? Is it important?" Alan smiles faintly. "It's just to reassure her. She's been through a lot." Evan looks at the letter with respect. "A letter of reassurance. I'll make sure it gets to her safely." Panel 1. Evan rides swiftly through the streets, clutching the sealed letter meant for Uxia. Meanwhile, Alan stands by the window, murmuring, "I don't know if that letter will really reassure her, but it's at least something." The true purpose of the letter wasn't comfort, it was a coded spell, hidden within familiar phrases Alan had heard countless times. That same incantation was once used by the Archbishop himself to calm a non-human's wrath, a sacred spell of control and peace. As the spell's ancient words echo, agony of the dark, impassivity of the bright, belonging with the fall, a mysterious power stirs within Uxia's soul. The narration recalls the game's storyline during the arc of the Sin of Wrath. Chaos engulfs the world. Uxia, overwhelmed by her rage, loses control completely under the Crimson Moon. In the original game, all attempts to calm her fail, triggering a massive battle that ends in bloodshed. But now, Alan believes it might not be too late to change that fate. Stretching lazily, he mutters, "Since one problem's handled, should I move on to my next target?" Unaware of the storm yet to come. Alan smirks slightly, thinking to himself, "It's a bit ridiculous to think you can befriend a monster with just a quote. But maybe it'll work since those people worship some god from another world." He sighs softly, finding it hard to understand the mindset of those zealots. Standing under the dim light, Yusha reads the letter in silence, her aura faintly trembling. Watching from afar, Evan's eyes widen in shock. The mana I can feel from her, it's unbelievable. Evan watches Yusha closely. She seems emotionless, her face blank as if her humanity has faded away. Suddenly, her calm voice breaks the silence. You said, Mr. Allen was the one who sent this letter. Her tone carries a quiet but dangerous edge. Her mana flares violently, crimson energy swirling around her as she screams. Then why didn't he want me by his side? Evan stumbles back, trembling under the pressure. What? Because. His words choke in fear as the air around her burns with rage. Yusha's power surges uncontrollably. Her mana manifests in physical form, a feat only possible for those in the Master Realm. Her mind flashes back to Alan's words, it's not yet time. Panicking, Evan repeats her master's message. Why, yes, timing. He said it's not yet time. Yusha's expression softens as she clutches the letter close. This is a promise. Only Master would know. Her red eyes glow faintly as she whispers, I get it. The storm of her mana begins to calm. Evan exhales in disbelief as Yusha's terrifying power settles, the overwhelming force now radiating calm dominance. With a sinister smile, she stands tall. Sin of Wrath, Daughter of Monsters, Bloody Queen Yusha. Her title echoes like a curse through the air. Meanwhile, back in Alan's mansion, peace returns. He relaxes in bed, mumbling, I've managed to extend my luxurious lifespan a bit. Gazing at the moon, he chuckles softly. Even the bright moon is cheering me on. I'll work hard on the next kid as well. He closes his eyes with a calm smile, completely unaware that the girl he just saved might one day become his greatest test. While searching through the bookshelf, Alan suddenly gets hit on the head by a falling book. He rubs his head in frustration, realizing the document he's looking for isn't there. Just then, his subordinate enters, reporting that they've rescued the second child mentioned earlier. Alan, still surrounded by fallen books, calmly asks if they treated the child kindly after saving them from the illegal slave market. Before the man can answer, the door bursts open with a loud noise, catching both of them off guard. A loud and confident man walks in, greeting Alan with a smirk. His name is Palacio Tonio, the second son of the county. He mocks Alan, teasing him for holding a book despite being known as illiterate, laughing loudly at his own joke. Palacio grabs Alan roughly, demanding an answer while Alan quietly endures the humiliation, thinking how the original Alan must have handled this. Deciding not to retaliate, Alan stands up calmly and tells him to use the library if he wants, showing restraint instead of anger. Palacio arrogantly steps on Alan's back, mocking him and asking if he knows his place. Before he can continue, a dagger suddenly pierces the wall beside him, silencing the room. A cold voice calls him and his brother noisy insects, leaving Palacio stunned and speechless. Standing at the door is Leo Palacio, the first son of the county. With a sharp glare, he warns them not to make him see blood this early in the morning and orders them to leave. Leo coldly warns his brother to drop his arrogant attitude when entering the library and tells him to leave since he reeks of drugs. Alan recalls that in the game's story, the Palacio County quickly vanished after a scandal involving corruption and crime. He remembers that both brothers were constantly fighting for the position of family head, one known as the Prostitution King, the other as the Drug King. While one ran the underworld's prostitution network, the other managed a massive drug cartel, making their power far greater than Alan had expected. Alan dodges an attack, realizing he can't risk using his powers recklessly if he wants to survive in this dangerous world. He kneels as Evan pats his head, thinking to himself that he'll just live quietly as a weak and incompetent bastard child. Alan collapses on the couch, while Evan observes him silently, sensing something unusual about him. Evan quietly mutters that the second child doesn't seem ordinary either, clearly suspicious of Alan's hidden strength. Evan wonders how someone like Alan could possibly know about the illegal slave market and the secret bio-experiments happening in other regions. As Alan lazily rests on the couch, Evan thinks that the young master struggles to keep himself together despite his calm appearance. Evan softly comments that Alan is quite strange, confirming that he sent the rescued child to the orphanage. Alan quietly reflects on Evan's words, realizing that he might have underestimated himself. He isn't just unordinary, but someone with power on a cataclysmic scale. In the world's United Kingdom made up of many nations, the central power lies within the Kalyan Kingdom, a place ruled by light and politics. From the illegal slave market, the boy they rescued turned out to be Deus Machalian, the second boss of Psychedelia. Once sold into slavery, he was endlessly abused and traded, suffering through a life of pain and torment. That suffering awakened something monstrous within him. He became the embodiment of one of the 5 deadly sins, the sin of sloth, and destroyed kingdoms in ways too horrific to imagine. During this part of the story, many players were shocked by the unexpected turn of events involving Deus Machalian. Despite being known as the sin of sloth, Deus was actually a hard-working individual who always repaid his debts and helped those who aided him. Alan recalls why he told Evan to treat him kindly. While sipping his tea, Alan explains that he sent Deus to the orphanage because the time isn't right yet. Evan understands immediately, asking if the letter sent to Yusha mentioned the second child. Alan nods, saying he added a few lines of casual conversation as well. Alan mentions that he asked Yusha to take care of a slightly ill child he sent to her orphanage. The scene shows Yusha and the others helping the boy who appears weak and fragile. Standing alone under the moonlight, the boy remains silent, his eyes hollow as if drained of emotion. Someone approaches him quietly, footsteps echoing in the still night. The mysterious voice speaks softly yet coldly, calling out to him, saying, "You're broken." A strange mark glows faintly on the boy's arm. The mysterious woman notices and mutters that those are traces of that forbidden entity. She realizes the truth. It was the Black Goat, a being of chaos and corruption. Despite its taint, she smiles eerily, saying the great moon has still chosen him, congratulating the boy for surviving its mark. With a wave of her hand, dark energy swirls around them as she commands him to embrace his power and unleash his true potential. The white-haired woman extends her hand with a smile, promising that if he remains loyal and follows the order given to him, his wish will be granted. Her voice echoes like a curse, "You shall have your revenge." The dark power surges, wrapping the boy in a glowing storm of energy. As the magic subsides, she lifts a sealed letter toward the moonlight and calmly says it's time to send her first reply. The letter gleams under the night sky as she adds softly, with a light greeting. The morning sun shines over the mansion, bringing a brief moment of peace before chaos strikes again. Alan sits in the library surrounded by books, frustrated as he searches through countless pages. He sighs, asking where the third boss is, realizing there's big trouble. One of the guards bursts in, panicked, shouting that the second young master, or rather, the scum, has caused a commotion again. Alan looks up, confused and tense, responding with a single word, "What?" A man lies motionless on the floor, his body surrounded by faint traces of dark energy. Someone mutters in disbelief, "That scum is dead." Already, the scene shifts to a solemn funeral hall. The man's body now rests in a coffin as black-clad figures silently mourn. An elderly lord clutches his chest dramatically as 2 women beside him cry out, "My lord." Meanwhile, Alan sits nearby, expressionless, as whispers of boredom fill the air. Someone complains about hunger, while Alan thinks to himself, realizing how twisted this family truly is, like something out of a dark fantasy novel. The lifeless body of Tonio lies in the coffin. The narrator notes how his accidental fall seems suspicious. Something doesn't match his memory of the event. Back in the game's story, Leo laughs maniacally, claiming he finally killed that vermin after years of waiting, declaring himself the new rightful heir, Count Palacio. Alan observes quietly as someone explains that Leo cried out with joy after the murder, unable to hide his excitement. They suspect Leo or his followers are behind it. Alan looks at the coffin calmly and thinks to himself, "Anyway, I just have to resolve the 5 deadly sins." A year passes peacefully. With the succession issue resolved and Leo taking over the drug business, The county enters a calm and stable era. Inside the mansion, Alan enjoys tea with his aide. They spend the afternoon reading letters while discussing future plans. Alan mentions that during this time, he and Yusha have become pen pals. He believes keeping in contact with her could be useful someday. As Alan reads her letter, a faint smile appears. He softly remarks that the kids seem good when seen from this perspective. Alan reads through a sponsor list and notices new names added to the orphanage's donors. His aide points out that it's surprising how the small orphanage keeps gaining more sponsorships. Alan agrees it's unusual, but still a good thing. The aide changes the topic, mentioning that the Information Guild has found a new clue related to the matter Alan's been investigating. Alan takes a calm sip of tea and replies with a faint smile, saying it's a relief to finally hear some progress. The evening is calm as Alan enjoys tea with his aide, thinking everything is running smoothly without any issues. Suddenly, a loud scream breaks the peace. Something terrible happens in the distance. At a drug distribution site in Margot, two men discuss business. One praises the Palacio family's eldest son for his generosity, while the other mentions their organization has grown to hundreds of members. But before they can finish their conversation, an explosion shakes the area. One of them, injured and gasping, says they just need a bit more before collapsing. One of the masked men panics as his hand starts moving on its own, forcing him to stab his own ally. He screams in terror, realizing he's lost control of his body. Another member shouts for help, but before anyone can respond, his body also begins to twist unnaturally. Within seconds, all of them are seen stabbing themselves under some dark, invisible force. Their cries echo through the blood-soaked alley. A cloaked figure watches from the shadows as the last man collapses, whispering faintly for help before falling silent. Under the moonlight, a cloaked figure reports to their master, saying they enjoyed the puppet show, referring to the massacre earlier, and adds that there's still more to report. The hooded man beside him questions the purpose of these killings, wondering if there's any point in continuing such meaningless slaughter. The woman asks coldly if he feels pity for the victims, but he replies that it's not pity, they're simply using human bodies to create drugs. She smiles, saying that this chaos is necessary to prepare for his return. She spreads her energy around, the air glowing with eerie light. With a twisted grin, she adds, "How could we let the place be shabby when he arrives?" hinting at the coming of someone powerful and terrifying. The boy lowers his head as dark energy surrounds him. With calm acceptance, he whispers, "I understand," fully submitting to the will of the woman before him. Powerful waves of purple and white energy erupt from their surroundings, forming a blinding vortex of light. Both figures stand beneath the moon as the storm of energy swirls around them, their forms glowing under the night sky. A massive surge of light bursts upward, and a chilling voice declares, "Everything will proceed according to his will," echoing through the darkness as if the world itself obeys. As the crescent moon shines brightly in the night sky, a voice echoes, "We, the blue moon, shall be his sword." The vow marks their complete devotion to the mysterious being they serve. The scene shifts to a massive crater on the ground, spiraling deep into the earth, a remnant of the immense power that was just unleashed. The world trembles, marking the rise of the blue moon's dark order.